35 years ago this month, the world got its first brutal glimpse of terrorism. 11 Israeli athletes kidnapped and killed at the 1972 Munich Olympics. And I was there with the educational musical group Up With People. Last month, my fellow cast members and I remembered the Munich massacre and an old drinking song that may have saved the spirit of the '72 Olympics.
And then finally the report that we now have. All of the hostages are dead.
With those words, we knew a day of hostage negotiating had ended tragically. For many of us, it was the first time we heard of Palestinians. And in September of 1972, a time of Cold War in Vietnam, we learned violence could erupt anywhere, even at the revered Olympics.
I saw 2 Army helicopters flying over, and then found out later that those were the helicopters that had gotten blown up.
Fear. Just, and down to the basic core of feeling very powerless.
I was just terrified. I really wanted to go home. I didn't know what to do.
35 years ago, Linda was one of 100+ students traveling with the educational musical group Up With People. High school and college kids thrust into the middle of a political situation by a heinous act of terrorism. This summer, those kids got together here in Tucson for their Up With People reunion. And unfortunately, the Munich massacre is still a big part of their memories. And yes, in 1972, this reporter traveled with that cast.
I think at 19, I had no clue that this was going to be an absolute historic event.
To just witness it firsthand, a half a mile away, and to realize, not know whether or not they were going to go after all of the Jews, or just the Israelis, was terrifying.
Hitler's atrocities against the Jews were still fresh in our minds. World War II was a little more than 25 years in the past.
I came to Germany with extreme apprehensions because my family had been killed in the Holocaust.
Then, September 6, 1972, more Jews are killed. The games are suspended. American swimmer Mark Spitz is sent back home. All cultural events at the Olympic Village are canceled, including Up With People's performance. That's when Olympic great Jesse Owens steps in. The Alabama native was on the U.S. Olympic Committee and an Up With People board member.
He was the one that said, hey, if anything happens, let it be Up With People. Re-enter. Don't shut the games down. Let them perform.
We did perform for the athletes, but it wasn't easy.
And they were used to the audience going ooh ah, and they were staring out of an audience that was very cold.
Every one of them sort of sitting like this, kind of afraid to make contact with the person next to them.
I didn't know how I was going to do that show.
But you did.
Yeah. And it was amazing.
We got to the song Anna Marika, which is the Belgian drinking folk song, and you link arms, and everything changed.
By the end of our show, the athletes are linked arm in arm, and they're swaying with us.
And here's these shirts that say CCCP in USA and North Korea and Brazil and Cuba, and they were all linking arms.
This is what it's all about. Music is a universal language, but it's really what's behind the music.
Words for the newest cast of Up With People to remember. Months later, the German chancellor thanked Jesse Owens and Up With People for returning the spirit to the Olympic Village.